Welcome to the Kactis AI app. We're so excited for you to be joining our platform. Today, we're going to be doing a walkthrough of the app functionality, including creating your clinic, intake, charting, patient testing, and patient management. So, from the homepage, you'll be taken to the clinic registration page. If you're not a clinic owner, check your email for an invite link from your organization. If you are a clinic owner, then fill in these details to register your clinic. Just a note on the number of clinics field, this refers to the number of physical locations you will be using the application in. Once you're done, click continue and it'll create your account. So now that you've signed in, you'll be taken to the dashboard. And before we dive into the dashboard itself, I want to show you the sidebar here, which is going to be your control center for the app. You can use it for quick navigation between dashboard and test groups, quick actions such as doing a new test or making a new test group, and seeing your settings or getting help. Just want to emphasize the get help section here. You can use this to submit feedback for us, get some help from us, or request a new feature. And it's going to be the primary way you can communicate with the Kactis team. Onto the dashboard itself, on top we have some organization stats, and below it we have the patient section. Here you'll be able to search patients and list all your current patients. All right, so now it's time to add people to your clinic. Click the invite button in the patient section, and here you can invite patients or clinicians if you're a clinic owner. If you're a clinician, you can only invite patients. So for patients, add their email in, specify the clinician you want to assign them to, specify whether or not you want them to do an intake assessment, and pre-assign any test groups you want them to complete. Once you're satisfied, send the invite. This will send them an email to register on Kactis AI, or you can directly send them this link if you prefer that way. Also, all your invites will be visible on the history page, and once someone accepts, this status will change to accepted. Another way to register a patient is this new patient button. This is useful if you have a patient come into the clinic who hasn't registered yet. You can quickly register them on the spot and immediately start running tests on them without having to wait for them to register. So now let's talk about intake assessments. Once you've assigned a patient an intake assessment, they will be required to record a video of themselves answering intake questions. Once the patient completes the intake, the results will be summarized for you, and you can find them by going to the patient and clicking View Intake. Here you will see the video of the intake assessment, the AI summary of the intake, and also the full transcript. You can also copy the summary to paste it into your charting software. Now, to configure the intake questions, you can go to Settings, Test Group, and here you will see the intake questions. You can drag them around, reorder them, edit them, delete them, or add new ones as you see fit. And the intake will be summarized in this format, which is consistent with charting standards. You can also toggle on email notifications for when patients complete an intake assessment. Moving on, let's talk about the major feature of Kactis, which is test groups. Test groups allow you as a clinician to be more efficient with the patient. They allow for segmented note-taking, charting, and they allow you to move through your assessment protocol more efficiently. And these test groups can be found in the Test Group tab. And they're exactly as the name says, groups of clinical tests. Now, these clinical tests have been pulled from literature and supplied by many of the clinicians we've worked with and spoken to over the years. And they allow you to get a full comprehensive overview of a patient's condition. They're the building blocks for these test groups. So we've also created standard test groups for most of the common conditions, and these are also backed by clinical literature and practicing clinicians. But you're not limited to using these ones. You can create your own test groups from scratch using this button, or you can copy an existing test group as a template. So I'm going to make a copy of this right shoulder test sequence here. And you can edit the test group name, you can edit the description, and you can add or remove tests as you see fit. So I'm going to add a left elbow here to this test, and it should appear at the bottom of this list. And you can reorder however you want. You can delete tests. Really, it depends on your workflow and how you want the test group to look like. The other thing I'll mention is you see each test has a type, M or A. A tests are automatic tests, and they use video motion capture to automatically record biomechanical results. Whereas M tests are called manual tests, which are more like your AI scribe and are designed to be used with binary positive, negative, pain provocation types of tests, where motion capture doesn't really make sense. So we can save this test group, and as you can see, you've now created a custom test. So now that we've created our test group, let's perform an assessment with a patient. To assign a test group to a patient, go to the dashboard and go to the patient you want to assign it to, and click Assign Test Group. I'm going to assign a left elbow test, and it should appear in the Assign tab here with the assignment date. And if you start the test, it'll start a new run of that test group. Before we dive into running the tests themselves, I want to explain how you can configure the test assessments to be as smooth as possible. Clinicians have told us that this experience should be hands-free, since going back and forth from a patient to the computer is pretty impractical and inconvenient in a clinical setting. And so we have two solutions for this. The first is voice commands. So when this microphone is on, it will listen for voice commands such as start test, skip test, and redo test. And these voice commands will progress the test given the command. And the second feature that we have is this countdown timer. So once you complete a test and it brings you back to this page, a countdown timer will start, which will count down, and once it gets to 0, it will start the next test automatically. So let's turn on the voice commands and show you how they work. So let's say I want to do this left elbow test. I can say start test, and it'll take me to the assessment page. So this is an automatic test, if you remember, and that means that we're going to be doing video motion capture of the joint. And it's already trying to lock in around my elbow joint, but the test won't start until the whole joint is in the frame, which is nice because sometimes the patient isn't in the position yet and is not ready yet right when you start the test. So this is kind of nice where it just waits until the patient's ready and they can do the test. So this provides a smoother process. Now I'm going to get my elbow in the frame, and the test should count down and start automatically. And I'm going to do my elbow flexion, and it'll take me back to the test assessment page. So now next up we have a manual test, and as you can see, the countdown timer has started, and once the countdown timer is complete, it'll start the manual test automatically. So manual tests do not do motion capture. As you remember, they will listen for a trigger word, and essentially it will start recording once it hears that word. So I can say something like positive for pain in elbow, and it'll record that automatically, and it'll take us back to the page. So let me switch back to manual mode here. If you don't want to do a test, either it doesn't make sense for this patient or this test group, you can say skip test, and it will automatically skip the test for you. Now, I think you get the whole deal now, so I'll skip ahead to the completing the whole test group. And it'll take you to the test results page. So the test results page will show you all the tests you've completed. We completed 2 tests, so the left elbow and the Cosen's test. And we also skipped 11 tests, and they're hidden, but you can see which ones were skipped here. And this gives you a nice streamlined view of the whole assessment that a patient went through. You can check if they did the movement right. You can get some key measurements. So for the left elbow flexion test, we have total elbow angle, max elbow angle, and min elbow angle. And we can also track a patient's movement across a test. So we have a timeline of their elbow angle throughout the whole test. Now for manual tests, we record the transcript after the trigger word is said. So as you can see, we have the result, which is a binary positive or negative, and we also have the voice transcription from the test here if you want it. Now, the best part about these results is that you can copy them directly to your clipboard with this button, and then you can directly add it to your charting software. So I just copied the results, and if I paste what it looks like, it'll show you the test group that was done, for who, on which date, and the results from all of the completed tests. So for automatic tests, you'll get the biometrics, and for the manual tests, you'll get the binary positive or negative with the short transcript. Now, you can find these results on the patient's page. So if you click back on their name, it'll take you there. And under the results tab, you can see the results for the latest test assignment run that we just did. You click back there and it takes you to the result. Now, this is great if you have a lot of patients back to back to back on a certain day and you can't finish all of their charting at the same time. You can always come back later in the day and copy those results into your EMR system. So it really provides a flexible way to do charting. And the last thing I want to talk about is, aside from test groups, we have the ability to run single tests or one-off tests as you want. So the way you can do that is you can click New Test on the sidebar, or in the patient page, Run Assessment. And here, under individual tests, you can select any test you want. I'll just do left elbow again. And it will start the test process for that singular left elbow test. So here I can do the left elbow test. And you'll see this test result, which you can also copy. And back to the patient assignment page, this result, since it's a single one-off test, won't appear under that test assignment, but rather under the individual tab, we can go to that specific test we did, which was left elbow, and view those results. And here we will see that we have all of the left elbow results from both test groups and one-off tests. So this is the latest one we did, which was from the one-off test. But we also have that one from earlier that we did in the test group. And this timeline of tests could be quite useful for patient engagement, where you actually, since you have a timeline of tests that the patient has done, you can track either their progress or decline during that time. So through each of these, you can click and show the patient where they were and where they are now, and how the recovery is going, and to keep them motivated in the whole process under your care. So these are the major features of Kactis so far. And I just want to reiterate one more time that if you have any feedback or any feature requests that you would like to be implemented, please use the Get Help section here to leave us your comments, and we will respond as soon as we can. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy using Kactis.